Today, the Georgia Supreme Court heard arguments in cases that go to the heart of a fundamental question. Who decides the value of a human life in Georgia? Our communities through juries, or politicians and corporate interests through an arbitrary cap? We are here because families across the state should know what truly is at stake. Medical malpractice caps do not prevent harm. They do not make patients safer. They do not heal families. What they do is limit accountability after irreversible damage has already been done. After someone has been permanently injured, after a loved one has been killed, after a family's future has been forever changed. Now, insurance companies and institutional defendants are asking the court to reopen the door and allow a $350,000 cap to be imposed after, in 2010, determining that the legislator does not have the authority to pre-decide the value of a person's pain, suffering, or loss. For the families that are standing here with us today, that number isn't abstract. It's a message. It says that no matter how severe the negligence, no matter how preventable the harm, no matter how devastating the loss, the system has already decided what their loved one was worth before any evidence is heard. Caps protect powerful institutions. They make negligent deaths and catastrophic injuries easier to absorb as the cost of doing business. They hit the most vulnerable families the hardest, those with the least resources and the most to lose. Civil justice and the right to a trial by jury is one of the few tools that families have to expose dangerous practices, create public record, and prevent future harm. When cases disappear because caps make them impossible to bring, accountability disappears with them. Today, we are joined by families whose lives have been permanently altered by medical negligence, families who turn to the courts not for profit, but for truth, for transparency, and for change. You will also hear from others who are here in support of those families, people whose lives have been impacted by negligence and understand that today we are talking about limits in medical malpractice cases, but tomorrow it could be far more broad. We are here to spread the word that justice is not one size fits all, and the value of a human life should never be capped. We are here as voices of Families for Justice and have brought the voices of the families so that you can hear from them how capping the value of a life is not only wrong, but it makes Georgia less safe. And with that, I will turn it over to the families who are here to tell about their experience.
Hi, my name is Glenda Yarbrough. My husband was Ron Yarbrough, and he passed away 6.5 years ago because of medical malpractice. What we thought was a good friend, somebody we could trust, was our cardiologist who suggested my husband go get a certain test that ended up showing that he had major blockages in most of the arteries leading to his heart. And they sent the report to my husband along with a cover sheet that said, everything's fine, you don't need to worry about anything else. It wasn't long after that that my husband went in for colon surgery, elective colon surgery, and his heart was not able to withstand or go through what he had to go through for that surgery. And he had a heart attack. He ended up having open heart surgery. Once his open heart surgery was done, he was on life support for the next 4 or 5 weeks, suffering. We couldn't communicate with him. But the bottom line is, his life is valued. We miss him still every day. This is my daughter. And it never should have happened. And now the government wants to cap. Well, first of all, you select a jury, you go to court, you make all the decisions that this was wrong, this shouldn't have happened, and you go to court, you get the perfect jury, the jury makes a decision, they rule that this shouldn't have happened, the doctor messed up. Along the way, there was several things that happened that other people were also found responsible. But now to find out there's a possibility, even though the jury awards a certain amount, that it can be capped at $350,000. That's protecting the doctor, the insurance companies. I mean, that's not going to help anybody along the way that goes through one of these mistakes by a doctor, that they can turn around and say, sorry, we're just going to pay you $350,000 for this 64-year-old man who had a lot of life left. And it just shouldn't happen. It should not happen. And then why even have a jury trial if they go through the process, they find the doctor liable, they come up with an amount, but they say, nope, it doesn't matter what they say. We think $350,000 is enough. And that's just not good. And that can't go on, because no one is protected from the mistakes that doctor made. And I heard them say today that medical malpractice and deaths, and that's the third leading cause of death in the United States, I believe he said, is medical malpractice. The third highest cause of death is medical malpractice. That's just unbelievable to think that that's true. But anyway, I want to just voice that, I appreciate your time, and just think about that and know what you're getting into as you make decisions with your doctors. Okay, thank you.
We are Drew and Shannon McGuffey. We are the proud parents of Melody and Halo. Our older daughter, Melody, she is currently in kindergarten class right now. She's a child model with hopes of becoming a fashion icon and much more. Our urn is all we have to show of our daughter, Halo. We'll never know what she wants to be. We'll never know her laugh, her smile. We will never know what she sounds like when she says mommy or daddy.
Halo passed away at 20 weeks due to medical malpractice, like a lot of the families here behind us. Simple procedure could have been done to save her, could have been caught. And unfortunately, the people we trusted to care for my wife Shannon and our daughter Halo failed us in that regard.
We went in for a 20-week anatomy scan. We were told everything was perfectly fine, and I was on my way to a healthy pregnancy. A couple of days later, I noticed bleeding. I called my OB's office and told them. They told me that they couldn't see me. I asked if I could be seen at either of their numerous locations. They said, no, you need to go to a nearby hospital. When I went to that hospital, the ER refused to see me, and the labor and delivery floor, they refused to see me as well. They told me that I need to prove to them that I'm 20 weeks pregnant before I can be seen. I spent hours trying to be able to get someone on the phone with my OB's office to prove that I was 20 weeks. During this ordeal, I was never given a seat or a wheelchair. After arguing and going back and forth and being stuck in what was basically a medical turf war between the ER and labor and delivery floor, I had a nurse from the ER bring me up to labor and delivery. And there they told me that they wanted me to go to the bathroom, stoop over a toilet, and provide a sample. I explained to them that I was in excruciating pain and that I needed a seat. By the time they gave me a bed to lay on, it was a broken bed. I was left in that broken bed for 20 hours. The only examination they ever did was once, when they told me I was 4 centimeters dilated. It took them 5 hours for them to bring a maternal fetal medicine doctor into the room to explain to us what was going on. When she came, she ripped a piece of copy paper like this, and she drew what my cervix looks like. And she said, there's nothing we can do for you, but don't worry, you can always have another baby. A couple of hours after that, my husband, Drew, started screaming for help. I was going into labor. He stood there and watched my daughter Halo come out feet first and strangled to death. The doctor only showed up to take down my daughter's time of death, which was 5:26 a.m. A life cannot be replaced. Money can be replaced. My daughter cannot be replaced. You cannot put a cap on human life or human potential. Halo matters. Her life matters. And we're here speaking today because we believe that if you were to put in a cap of $350,000, that would not be able to adequately amount to the amount of pain and the hole that has been left in our family. We are forever broken. We are forever damaged.
It's crucial. It's extremely crucial for us to hold those accountable in the ways which they did wrong. For them to use a cap of 350,000 allows them to budget for more deaths and to allow more families to deal with what we're dealing with and the loss and the hurt and the pain and the wondering what if. Halo would be 2 right now. She'd be 2 years old. He should be at home teaching her how to walk, talk, eat, everything. Like, those are things that we think about every single day. And for us to be in a position where we're sitting in a courtroom watching people argue about whether a cap should be placed on human lives is absolutely ridiculous. And it opens up more families to be dealing with the type of hurt that we're dealing with today. So,
And we would like to know, where is the accountability? Where is the justice where you can commit a crime and do harm to someone and then you can set the time or the penalty for the punishment? Well, how is that fair? Which one of you have a child that's worth $350,000? This needs to be fixed now. When I grew up, they always said in my family, never laugh at someone else's pain. Today for me, tomorrow can easily be for you. Your daughter or your wife can be affected by this. This needs to change, and caps do not need to go into place. What needs to go into place is a massive overhaul and change of the maternal medical health care system here in Georgia. And that's all we have to say on that.
Hi, my name is Eleanor Davis. I think my big question here is, why should the risk that insurance companies take be put on people and patients? Insurance companies are always taking risks. That's their job. They collect premiums and they take risk. My daughter-in-law in 2019 had an outpatient spinal surgery that went bad. The doctor pretty much lied to us and told us it was a piece of cake. He knew what he was doing, that it wouldn't be a big deal. Well, that wasn't the case. She wound up at Emory Neurological Center. From that day that he did surgery, she was a quadriplegic. He destroyed her spine, and she spent the next 14 months of her life as a quadriplegic, and she died in 2020. This doctor had never performed this surgery, which we did not know at the time. It should never have been performed in an outpatient setting. We trusted this doctor. That's what people do when they go have surgery. They trust who is going to do the surgery for them. This doctor also, since this time, still has his license. He's still practicing. He still has his clinics. And he may have lost his insurance, but it's not required or a law in Georgia to have malpractice insurance. So after this doctor has had dozens more malpractice lawsuits against him, many complaints, he still gets to go on with his life. So the medical board has not done their job in pulling his license. If the state of Georgia caps the damages that a family like mine could receive, then it makes us vulnerable to even want to go to a medical doctor. The insurance company should be vetting who they are giving insurance to. So who is the risk falling on here? Big insurance companies? Are they helping them? Are they helping big medical practices and hospitals and corporations that really are worth billions of dollars? What about us? What about the people that go to these doctors and trust them and we're the ones who fall victim to them. And they want to put a cap on us instead of making the insurance companies and the medical board do their jobs. Thank you.
My name is J.E., and I'm speaking today as a survivor, standing with other survivors and families who are fighting or have had to fight for justice. For people like us, access to justice is not political, it's personal. It's what allows survivors to heal, to get help, and to make sure what happened to us, what happened to me, does not happen to anyone else. And that's why I'm here. Because no politician and no lobbyist should be able to put a cap on the value of a life or the value of pain and suffering. In my case, I was abused as a child while in the care of an organization. Civil justice creates accountability. It forces powerful institutions to take responsibility when they ignore warning signs and put people at risk. Institutions that neglect their duty to safeguard those within their care are culpable for the crimes committed. Therefore, institutional accountability is as important as individual accountability where justice is involved. This is about every system that holds power over people's safety, including health systems. When medical providers fail families, those families deserve the right to go to court and have a Georgia jury of their peers decide what is fair, not to have politicians or insurance interests decide what their suffering and their loss is worth. Every life has value. Every survivor's pain has value, and it should never be capped. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Howard Eubanks. I'm here by myself. My wife is at home in bed, and she's going to die as a result of malpractice and cover-up. She went in for a routine gallbladder surgery. We had confidence that this was a rather routine thing and that we were in good hands. We were with a hospital that, has been around a long time, is pretty well known. We're safe. But after the surgery, it was obvious that she was sick. She was suffering of something that we couldn't understand. There was no explanation for it. It wasn't until 6 months later that we had 4 doctors standing at the foot of my wife's bed telling us that we had grounds for a medical malpractice lawsuit. We have family and friends who are in the medical industry, doctors, EMTs, nurses, lots of them. We all probably know people, have family and friends who are in this medical industry. But I don't think we understand how much danger we're really in. We accept these people to be committed to their oath and to be trustworthy. They're not all the same, okay? They're not. There are some bad actors out there that will do anything to save their skin when they make a simple mistake. What started out here, I'm convinced, was initially a simple mistake. But what followed that was a cover-up. And the cover-up was not possible by one man. That cover-up is a systematic effort. There have been lies and collaboration for months, and it goes on still. This doctor lied to my face. He told me that this surgery went fine. He had to make an incision a little bit larger than it was initially made. No problem, right? No problem. My wife is dying. He did not tell the truth. And he went on to lie further. And he circled colleagues. What they did to obstruct our access to the care that she needed after that surgery is unthinkable. I don't know where to end, except this, what we heard today at this Supreme Court is about effectively taking away your defense. When I was told that I had a medical malpractice lawsuit on my hands, okay, we'll do it. I had no idea what kind of trouble I would have to find an attorney to defend our case. They have to go out and hire expensive experts to go defend these cases. Then they have to face records that have been manipulated, outright lies. If this goes through, if the cap is $350,000, how are you going to get substantial legal backing to go to court and fight these guys? Forget about it. You're left defenseless. The state of Georgia, the citizens of Georgia are not safe as it is. And this has got to be fixed.
Gets into issues of constitutional law and whether the right to a jury trial existed back in the early days of our country and of our state. So there's a lot of debate, a lot of historical debate. But one thing we're very fortunate about is we have got an excellent Supreme Court that is clearly engaged on this issue. They studied the briefs, they were prepared with their questions, and ultimately they're going to have to decide the issue and answer the question, do Georgia citizens have a fundamental right to decide these disputes in front of a jury? Or is that right going to be taken away to protect the insurance interest and the healthcare system interest? Right, our Constitution sets a deadline for the Supreme Court to issue a ruling. So we know that they're going to follow the constitutional mandate and have a ruling by the end of July, I believe is what the deadline is. So we'll know this answer within the next 4 or 5 months. There's so much at stake. All of these families who've spoken today, including my lovely client Glenda Yarbrough, they have all been through years and years of litigation and challenge to get their case to court in the first place, and then to get their case presented in front of a jury, and a jury has listened to some cases weeks of testimony to reach a decision. And what's at stake is whether the decision by these juries is going to be honored and respected, or whether it's going to be discarded and mean nothing. So all of these families are here hoping and praying that the Supreme Court will reaffirm the fundamental right to a jury trial so that their suffering, or the loss of their loved one, will mean something. And that's why we're all here today to support them. If history is any guide, that could certainly happen. Rights have to be jealously protected and zealously fought for, or camel gets their nose under the tent and then all of a sudden the rights start slipping away. We can look at many states around this country where the right to a jury trial has eroded to mean almost nothing. And we can look to our neighbors in Texas and different states around the South where courts have allowed the right to jury trial to erode. And when that happens, the rights that are fundamental to our citizens disappear. One of my favorite quotes is that our liberty, our democracy, depends on 3 boxes: the soap box, the jury box, and the ballot box. And these are our basic fundamental rights at stake here. And it's not just a matter of, well, 350 is enough. These go to our fundamental rights to a fair and impartial jury. And if those rights are taken away, we won't see them again. The message we hope to send is that they are here representing the people of Georgia, all the people of Georgia, whether the most powerful interests, wealthy, the successful, the institutional folks, but they also represent the poorest people, the most vulnerable, the children in South Georgia who may be a victim of medical malpractice. They represent all Georgians, and the message I would hope that they would receive by our presence here and our commitment to our civil justice system is they are here to protect our rights and secure our rights, not to let them erode and sacrifice them on the altar of big business and insurance companies. The decision the Supreme Court makes on these two cases will decide the issue of whether victims of medical malpractice who are killed by the malpractice will have their pain and suffering or have their wrongful death cases capped at $350,000. That issue is what was before the Supreme Court, and that'll be decided in the next few months. So everything is at stake. The buck stops here. This is the Supreme Court. This is the highest court in Georgia, and they're going to decide this issue. There are other cases that are waiting around the state to see what the Supreme Court does on these two sort of bellwether cases and see what happens.